Welcome back to MindBody TV. This is part 2 in the Turning Off Fight or Flight series. And I'm going to talk today about how to function from trust and surrender and why this is so important. We've got to move out of survival before we can have prosperity, before new opportunities come in, before we can really thrive. And letting go of that survival mode doesn't mean your system is not taking care of your survival. It just means you're not micromanaging that. So stay tuned today because turning off fight or flight has been shown to be the core foundation for physiology that allows self-healing and for brain function that allows higher creation, manifestation, and higher thinking. So I'm so excited to have you here. Please type in where you are tuning in from. Where are you in the world? How did you find MindBody TV? And make sure to like this broadcast, subscribe in YouTube, and share this with someone you love because this material will change the world. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm a physician who has dedicated my medical career to sharing about how the body heals itself, how the mind and body are connected, and how our consciousness is what creates what's happening physically. I did part 1 of this 2-part series. If you didn't see that last week, I will include the link for that here because it's a really important dip into what is fight or flight physiology, how it wreaks havoc on your system, physically, mentally, emotionally, and how it ultimately deteriorates your ability to conceive of new possibilities and to manifest and create them. All right, so I'm so glad to have you here. The biggest thing you've got to realize about the fight or flight nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze response, or the sympathetic nervous system, is that it not only creates inflammation throughout your entire physiology, it suppresses healthy function of your body. It is the core root when in the chronic state, if it's turned on in the chronic state, of what underlies every major chronic disease most people are dying of right now. And what we've actually seen in the last decades is that that is just going up and going up and going up. And a huge amount of that has to do with where we are living from fear, where our sympathetic nervous system is turned on almost all the time, whether it's a real or just a perceived threat. More on that in the first section. What does this have to do with your brain functioning? Your brain has different frequencies of activity. And when it's in the heightened state where most people are in their ordinary consciousness of beta brain waves, they're faster brain waves, and they sort of like replay the automated programs. So automated activities, you do this, you do this, do that. If you ever learned to drive a car, in the beginning, you had to think about every single thing you were doing. And now you're like driving a car, eating breakfast, talking on your phone. Like you could do it in your sleep almost, not that you should be doing it like that, but you can do so many of those functions automated. It's on automatic pilot because it's already programmed into your hardwiring. Your system does it automatically. The issue when we live only in the beta brainwave state, that higher, faster brainwave functioning, is that we're not letting in new information. We're in the automated programs. And for most of us, these automated programs are not actually created for prosperity. They're created for survival. I've got to be careful. I should just keep this safe job and do the right thing and follow the rules and not look up. Money doesn't grow on trees belief system, or I've got to do good for others in order to be valuable in the world. And all those faulty beliefs literally get programmed into our beta brain wave functioning. So we don't see them, we don't question them, and we certainly can't change them. We've got to come to a slow beta brainwave frequency, so like a light relaxation, or down slower to an alpha brainwave frequency in order to let new information in. Yes, we can go even slower into theta brainwave function, which is where I function in my work assisting healing. It's not in the conclusions, let me think really hard. It's in a receptive state that allows unthinkable amounts of intelligence to come into my awareness. So I can have awareness of like what's really going on for this person, or what is really called for that will make the biggest difference. At that slower alpha or theta brainwave frequency, we are way more receptive, and we can do things like ask questions and immediately get the awareness. Like, what would it take for me to be in my highest health and vitality right now? Or is drinking this drink or taking this supplement going to nurture me to being in my highest functionality? You can let that awareness in, sometimes instantly, but you've got to slow down your brainwave frequency to function from that higher state. It's a slower state. But it's actually a higher state of consciousness. So this is really, really important, because a lot of times we're trying to fix the problem from within the consciousness that created it. So beta brainwaves are faster, 13 to 20 hertz. Alpha is slower, 8 to 13 hertz. Theta, where most people like don't even go into theta, is even slower, 4 to 8 hertz. And delta is when we're in like dream state or REM, really, really slow brainwave functioning, 0 to 4 hertz. If you have kids and you realize like, oh, it's really hard to wake them up, or you carry them upstairs and they don't even remember, they're in that slower delta brainwave frequency. So they're not in their conscious functioning, and they're not going to remember. These states are very suggestible. So you want to be in a safe environment, you want to be in a nurturing space, and you want to be asking questions that will lead to prosperity. For example, when I was sick many, many years back, and I kept asking, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What kind of information do you think I was getting? Well, your hormones are off. Oh, it's your immune system. Oh, you have blah, blah, blah disease. Here's all the things that are wrong with you, which just gave me more problems to solve. It didn't actually create a solution. To create solutions, we've got to get into a more receptive state than the one that created the problems. And we've got to ask higher frequency questions. Now, I'm just about to launch my second book, which is coming out soon, Be Your Own Healer. And it has a lot on this, a lot about the electromagnetics of the body, not just the chemistry and physiology that changes when you come out of fight or flight into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response, or come out of that beta brainwave firing that keeps you so busy and the programs, and into a slower, more receptive frequency. It shows you more on this in the book with like tools for how to become receptive. How do we work with this? How do we ask expansive questions that will bring us the solution? But to keep it brief in this episode, and I will include the link here to get the second book. So as soon as it's ready, you'll get your copy. But this is a really important thing to remember, because even if all you do is just soften your body, take a deep breath, and you can bring your shoulders up to your ears and tense them. You can scrunch your face and your wrists as you inhale. And then you just let it go. Maybe there's yawning, maybe there's tearing. There's going to be the ignition of the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's not just about like, I gotta shut off my fight or flight. You actually just gotta activate the parasympathetic. And that can be triggered and turned on as easily as just relaxing your physical body. It's called the relaxation response, because your body accesses it through relaxing. So now you're in, if you just did the exercise with me, a slower beta brainwave frequency. We could do things, and this is what I do when I work with people in the Embracing Health group, to bring you into alpha. It's easy. The more you practice it, the more accessible it becomes, where you slow your brainwave functioning and your receptivity to new ideas, new intelligence, even more fully. And that can be entrainment with the way I'm speaking and the consciousness I'm speaking from. And it can also be some meditative exercises that we do, which is called an induction, to just slow everything down and turn off the programming. I think of this, especially when we get down to like theta brainwave functioning or delta. It's like turning off your computer to let it reboot. You can't put new programs in until you turn off the existing ones. You've got to you're going to update the programming, and your computer will say, we will update this when you restart or shut down the computer. Okay, so do I want to upgrade my system now? Maybe I'm like in the middle of my day, yeah, I'm going to do it in an hour, or I'm going to do it tonight when I go to sleep. But you got to shut down. You got to find a way to get your body into the relaxation response and to come out of the high beta where no new information can come in. What I'm saying won't even make sense to you. You'll be like, where's the studies? Where's the documents? I'm not going to buy it. And you'll buy into this skepticism, which is really just resistance from your brain letting in new information. When you do take the time to connect with the body, maybe you do the instant elevation technique, maybe you just do some meditative breathing, your body will naturally move from the high beta programming and conclusions into a slower beta or alpha or even a theta state. It can take a lot of practice to develop the ability to be in theta and be conscious, like I'm awake. And I spent years doing this, where I would go into these heightened states, but I would just be like, wait a minute, did I fall asleep? I'm like out of my body. What just happened? And I could remember some of the things, but no, like I wasn't fully conscious for that. To develop the ability to stay fully conscious in these slower brainwave frequencies takes an upgrade in your circuitry, your neurologic circuitry, your electromagnetic circuitry. That's why when I work with people in the Embracing Health course, we do a year. People stay in it even longer and want to keep receiving. Because in the first 3 months, it's like, oh my gosh, we are releasing and dumping so much of the old programming, but we're just beginning to create new circuitry for a new intelligence to come in. That takes time. You're going so deep. Like I said, it took me years to create the circuitry so I could stay awake, alert, and conscious in these much slower brainwave frequencies, theta or even delta. So you don't need to do that. Just go to slow beta, alpha, get into your meditative state. It will allow so much a release of the programming you don't even realize is running the show, keeping you in anxiety, running the programs of depression or despair or powerlessness or overwhelm. It's all programming. And so whether it's chronic inflammation and an autoimmune disease or neurologic disease or brain fog, fatigue, chronic fatigue syndrome, or an infection that's not clearing because your immune system is so riled up, it just can't do the basic housekeeping to clear that Lyme or Epstein-Barr virus or Bartonella or blah, 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 fill in the blank. Your body can do this, you guys. It can do unthinkable things. You will see miracles happening every day. But you got to shift the program. You got to get out of that high beta programming. Okay, so functioning in trust and surrender. I want to make a really important point here. When we release the sympathetic nervous system overdrive, fight or flight, and we turn on the relaxation response of the parasympathetic nervous system that has been so well documented to reverse disease processes, keep you healthy, keep you finding solutions, and allow electromagnetically really powerful new manifestation. More on that in the Be Your Own Healer book, or if you're with me in Embracing Health, we go much deeper into that. But the thing to remember is igniting that parasympathetic relaxation response does not mean you're overriding the fight or flight. Doesn't mean I'll say you turn it off. Doesn't mean it goes away, that like if a snake is about to bite you, your body wouldn't automatically jump to get you out of the way. Or if your hand is on a hot stove, you just like, I'm just going to leave it there for a while because all is well, and burn your hand. No, the body does those things automatically before you even feel the heat. It will trigger a reflex arc at the level of your spinal cord, not your brain, your higher functioning. Oh, it's hot. Let me pull my hand away. That would be actually way too slow. It triggers a reflex arc at the level of the spinal cord to automatically get your hand contracted away from the heat before you've even consciously registered that it's hot. That's how quickly your sympathetic nervous system is meant to respond. And guess what? When you go into the relaxation response, the parasympathetic state, it works even better. It'll come on, it'll do its thing, and it'll turn off. Instead of, if you've seen Inside Out or Inside Out 2, and I just did a really great MindBody TV episode on this a few weeks ago, where there's this new character called Anxiety, and Anxiety's like, I'm going to save the day, I'm going to make it happen, don't worry, I'm fear projecting all of the possibilities that could go wrong and handling every one of them. That's your sympathetic nervous system on overdrive. No. It is not meant to run the show for your system. And you've got to realize this very, very important point I'm making. When you live in the parasympathetic, that part of your system will work even better, meaning your survival is even more assured. Being taken care of, having your needs met are even more assured. Having your basic survival needs taken care of is automatic. And that system is working at its peak. When, however, you live in anxiety, fight or flight, constantly trying to micromanage, and you're living in that high beta, you haven't recalibrated the programming, it actually works against yourself, meaning you are less likely to survive. You are actually killing yourself by overrunning the adrenals, overrunning the sympathetic nervous system, overrunning the fight, flight, freeze response. We did just create a brand new quiz on my website specifically for this. If you go to drkimd.com, we just put up a whole new website, and there's a new quiz on there for getting out of fight or flight freeze. There's 3 main ways that I began to see as an osteopathic medical student when I was working in my clinic. These are the 3 main patterns people were in. They're in fight. I'm going to overcome this disease. Nothing's going to get me down. Or they're in flight. Please help me escape this. I'll do anything. Let's work hard and make this go away. Or freeze. Oh, why does this keep happening to me? I feel like such a victim. Nothing I do works. I've seen 20 different doctors and nothing is helping my disease, right? These 3 patterns. And in the quiz, it'll help you sort of identify which one to start with. You could start with any of them, but there'll be one for you that really, really like makes the big difference, moves the mountain, opens up your system the most. And then I give you a tool to work with that and practice unwinding this pattern. So go to drkimd.com actually just go to drkimd.com and it's right there on the page to begin the quiz, and it will bring you through this process. Okay, so questions about this. Have you been living in fight or flight? Do you recognize yourself in one of these 3 patterns? Like maybe all of them are familiar to you. I know it definitely was very familiar for me. I am still, you guys, living in that intentionality of calling myself back into peace, of calling myself back into oneness consciousness, of calling myself back into my higher functioning. Like sometimes it's just there through the day, it's a flowy day, and sometimes it's really front of mind, meaning, wow, all day I can see something's getting triggered, and I'll use these practices over and over again. Soften the body, deepen the breath, the instant elevation technique. This works. It creates new neural circuitry. Your brain will begin to work differently, and we can do a little EFT to assist this. Your brain will begin to work differently, create new neurologic pathways and new circuitry, which is not just the neurologic pathways, it's also the electromagnetics. You are pure energy. Your body is electric. There's an electrical field, a magnetic field, way more on that in the book. And you can activate that circuitry for higher functioning. So do you want to function in trust and surrender? Why do I want to trust and surrender when there's like, the tiger is about to get me out from behind every corner? Well, most people are living in perceived threat. It's not an actual threat. In this 3 seconds, no matter what's going on, 3 minutes from now, or 3 hours from now, or 3 days from now, and you see that depiction in anxiety, right? Projecting what could be happening. In this 3 seconds, do you have enough oxygen to breathe? Can you slow down your breathing, maybe a microfraction? Could you soften your body to let more life force in? Could you relax just a little to allow higher brainwave functioning? Because that's when solutions can come in. And if I can trust and surrender, and really the premises of this is the universe has your back. That which created you is still here and can course through you to a higher degree when you allow it. Would you allow it? Are you willing to suspend disbelief and trust and surrender so you can receive more? And yes, survival is included in that. And so that's a yes or no question. Share with me your thoughts on that. Share with me your answer to that. Why would I be willing to function from trust and surrender? Well, maybe there's some hardship. Maybe there's some pain. Maybe there's disease that's not clearing. Maybe you're getting sick and tired of living in constant fight or flight anxiety, or you've developed an anxiety disorder or depression, or your relationships aren't working. Like, life is going to get your attention as an invitation to make this change, to be willing to function from trust and surrender. And it could take you another 3 years, could take some people another 10 years. But we will all move in this direction because everything happening in your life is moving you to make this choice, is inviting you, is encouraging you, is showing you what chaos gets created when you stay in fight or flight. And you could double down on that for the next 10 years and prove to yourself, oh, I guess prosperity never is really going to get created from this pathway. Or you could just trust and surrender right now. I choose to live in trust and surrender. It's a choice. Commitment is what creates courage. And that's what creates capability. So don't wait until you have the capability to make the commitment. Share in the comments right here. I am willing to trust and surrender. I'm willing to function from trust and surrender. And you can even share why. Because I'm ready to have awesome relationships with my kids. Because I'm ready to let go of this disease that is getting propagated from my fight or flight state. Because I'm ready to really allow floods of money and resource in, so I'm not having to live in overwhelm and think it's all on me. So I'm willing to function in trust and surrender, and why. I would love to hear from you on this. All right, so creation happens when you choose. You've got to take an action. You've got to make a choice. So even if the first action is just tighten up the body, take a big deep breath, let it go. Make a sound. Yes, we'll do a little EFT because that's really helpful to come out of fight or flight into a better brainwave functioning, more receptive parasympathetic response. But you got to remember there has to be a choice. So whether it's a choice like I'm going to start looking for a new job, or I'm going to have that crucial conversation with my partner or a person I'm in a relationship with, or I'm going to set aside an hour of time for myself today to do nothing, no thing. Make the choice, because the choice, the commitment is what creates the courage to actually follow through with it. And that's what creates the new circuitry. That's what creates the capability. All right, so I'm going to share with you some EFT. Really great way to turn off fight or flight. Really great way to connect and communicate with your nervous system. So just starting, tapping on this inner eye point. It's right here at the beginning of your eyebrow. Breathing in and breathing out. And you can even call out what you've been feeling, the fear, the powerlessness. But we're just going to start by tapping. So outer eye, breathing in, breathing out. You can say, body, it's okay to let go. Under the eye, breathing in, breathing out. Start acknowledging where you've been living in fight or flight, just for yourself. We're not going to say the words yet. Under the nose, breathing in, breathing out. It's okay to feel whatever comes up. On the chin, we're going to let your body know it's okay to slow down. Because a lot of people think that my value is in my doing. So of course you don't want to slow down. But you got to let the body know this is a new program. Okay, so under the collarbone is the next point. And we're going to acknowledge the old programs. Calling them out. People will say, why are you focusing on the negative? Calling them out. with love and with this tapping that neutralizes your nervous system, neutralizes those thoughts, neutralizes those beliefs, right? So underneath the arm is the next one, on the spleen point, and on top of the head. And you could just do that series, even just one or two of those points can be helpful during the day. But now we're going to use words. So start in the karate chop point, outer hand, and you're just going to say, even though I don't want to turn off, I don't know how to turn off. Speak it out loud. I choose to consider something new. And we'll do 3 such setup phrases, even though I don't know how to turn off. I'm so overwhelmed. I wonder what else might be possible. 3rd setup phrase, even though my body is so tense, so revved up, I don't know how to turn off. I choose something higher now. Good, so that just repatterns the whole circuitry for where we're ultimately going. So now inner eye, out loud. I acknowledge the overwhelm I've been living in. Outer eye, and it has me shut out love and well-being. Under the eye, in ways known and unknown. Under the nose, it just creates more chaos and more to do. On the chin, keeping me busy, busy, busy. Always, I have more to do. Under the collarbone, and right here on both sides. Feels like I'm always almost there. Like a carrot hanging out in front of me. Under the arm, but never truly at peace. On top of the head, I'm just going to call this out. This pattern of overwhelm, this pattern of fear. Inner eye, I wonder what might happen. Outer eye, if I could let go. Under the eye, if I would let go. Under the nose, and allow a new way. On the chin, a new level of functioning. Under the collarbone, from trust and surrender. Under the arm, I don't even know what that would be like, and I definitely don't know how to do it. On top of the head, and what if that's okay? What if something in me does? Inner eye, what if just by softening my body? Outer eye, I allow that in. Under the eye, and it does it for me. Under the nose, and amazing things happen for me. On the chin, just because I allowed it. Under the collarbone, just because I found the courage to make a new choice. Under the arm, to soften, to breathe. Top of the head, to surrender. Deep breath in. Powerful breath out. Bonus points if you make a sound. Your body is releasing energy. Tearing is normal. Even just like tension coming up, move it around, it's normal. As you let go, this will all come up to come out. Take a walk, take an Epsom salt bath. Do several deep breaths. Your body will move this. Your body does know how. The parasympathetic nervous system knows how to heal whatever may be going on in your body. Every disease known to man. Yes, even the obscure ones that there aren't any names for. Will you surrender? So share with me, please. How do you feel? How is the tapping? Sometimes we do a gauge before we tap, a rating of 1 to 10. 10 being extreme discomfort, 1 being, minimal. And then we gauge it again after. How am I feeling now? We didn't do that number, but I want you to feel, how do I feel after tapping? It can be so helpful to consciously register, whoa, I was feeling pretty fired up. Feel a lot lighter, or maybe even just a little lighter. What you acknowledge expands. Focus on that little shift. Focus on where you do see a small point of power, where my body can do this, where there's a little bit of lightness, and I wonder what that might be, what that might create. So stay in the openness. If you notice, I have a way of doing tapping where you're going to focus on the quote unquote negative. That's okay. You're neutralizing it. Then we come into a more expansive space, and then we can come into something more positive. Just clear whatever's up. It will present itself when you get here. All right, so we want to turn off that fight or flight. We want to begin to live in the parasympathetic. It is a miracle, and it includes your survival in it. So all of the other survival functioning will actually work better. So there is no risk. People will say, but what if something actually is going on? Yeah, and you think you need to handle it? You small mind, ego self? No, let your higher self handle it. It will get you to the ER if you need to go to the ER. Believe me, I was an ER doctor, and I found being in this heightened state allowed so many more miraculous things to happen, life-saving things to happen. So your higher mind isn't going to forget about your survival. So don't go oh, I got to keep some sort of control because otherwise I don't really trust I'm covered. Just notice that. I used to be like that too. And maybe in some ways still am. Sorting through this every day, more and more, we're always expanding. Thank you for being here. Go to drkimd.com to take the quiz to learn your tool to turn off fight or flight and begin to allow higher functioning. Practice this EFT that we did. You can do it over and over. Share this with people you love because this is very, very powerful for all of us. Subscribe in YouTube. I will be here every Wednesday. We will broadcast live for MindBody TV, a new episode about self-healing, how the mind and body are connected, and what you can do with that. My new book is coming out, Be Your Own Healer. So you can go to the link below to get your copy. It's on pre-order right now. Each Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, we'll be here live in the MindBody community in Facebook, which is where our coaches are standing by to assist you with this work, and in my YouTube channel, Dr. Kim Duramo. Sending you my love, and may my sense of surrender and trust contribute to your being willing to surrender and trust. So much love to you. I'll see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to MindBody TV. I would love to hear from you. Post a comment with any question, insight, aha, or just to say hello. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you stay tuned for weekly episodes. I'll see you next week.